willy-nilly.
Well,
I could go on for ages. I'll let you have some more. Okay.
Let me just bring something up that you mentioned that we hear a lot. This is about dogs with a past, dogs with a history. I rescued this dog that was fearful. I rescued this dog that was hit in the head with a 2x4. In a dog's world, it doesn't matter what the dog has gone through. The problem is the human that gets that dog is the only one that remembers that dog's past. Dogs live in a moment, and you can correct the moment in the moment by forgetting the past. That's why we have to change the humans. You have to forget about what happened to your dog 5 years ago. If you've ever been in a car accident, you'll know what I'm talking about. A lot of people, you've been in a car accident, but yet you drive every day. You don't not drive because you've had a wreck 10 years ago. You've got to forget about the dog's history and live in the moment right now. The dog lives in my house with my children or my 6 dogs, and this is how it's going to be in my house. You don't have to be angry about it. You just have to teach the dog in his language. Any dog that comes into your house can take over immediately, or it can take them 10 years to take over. And we've seen them both. The dog came in for one day, and now nobody can come in the house. I had a lady that was an obedience trainer that her dog took 10 years before nobody could touch this dog. And she was an obedience trainer. She couldn't pet her own dog. So what we need to do is live in the now with the dog we have, with the house we're in, and set the rules, take the dog for a walk, become his leader. I don't use food. I don't use rewards. If my dog doesn't run out the door, I do not reward that because he's not supposed to run out the door. For those who have children with curfews, when your kids come in at 10 o'clock, you don't throw a party for them because they're supposed to come in at 10 o'clock. Now, I hope you understand that it's just my house. I'm not angry with you, but if you're going to live in my house, these are my rules. You cannot smoke in my house. You can take it outside, but you can't smoke in my house. And I'm not going to reward you when you leave my house for not smoking in my house. So we don't reward the rules. That's just the way it is in my house. It's your life. What we do as whisperers is get your life back the way it was before the dogs came along. In the old days, we used to sit next to our spouses. Well, now we don't because there's always a dog between us. We used to sleep together, but now we don't because there's dogs between us. We teach people to get their lives back, live your life, and the dog will fit into your life as long as you correct him with certain behaviors and correct him the proper way. Don't get angry at your dog. Teach your dog. Become a teacher.
okay. And I wanted to mention something. We don't do obedience because we don't care if the dog is sitting or lying down or rolling over or playing dead. But I give my dogs treats just because I love them. I don't give them treats for sitting or lying down because I don't care if they are. And like Mark said, we don't reward our dogs for not running out the front door because guess what? They're not supposed to run out the front door. But my dogs don't need to earn their food. I'm a good provider. We go for our walk. We come home. Guess what? I always find food. But we're not doing obedience. Now, if you're trying to do operant conditioning, click and treat, whatever, that's fun. But that's not changing behavior. And anybody who has a dog who's been through PetSmart and all these different training things, and they'll say, but my dog still lunges at other dogs. It's still out of control. But he can sit great when we're in the house. So that's why we don't do the obedience. That's fine. But we don't get involved in that. We only fix behavioral issues. Jumping, running out the door, issues like that. And aggression. Teaching an aggressive dog to sit down does not change him from being an aggressive dog. He's still an aggressive dog. If he listens to you when he's aggressive, wonderful, but he's still an aggressive dog. He's just sitting. So that's why we're talking about behavioral changes. We make behavioral changes. And somebody had asked about how do dogs remember things. Yes, dogs can remember. Certainly, if you give me a lobster tail every time I sit down, I'll sit down anytime I see you because I want the lobster tail. But how about if you don't have a lobster tail sitting there handy? if that doesn't work. Or if for some reason the dog just decides, well, I don't care because the thing that's over there is more interesting than the thing over here, it doesn't work. Behavioral modification, which is what we do, changing behavior is teaching the dog in any circumstance what he or she has to do. Honey, I love you to death, but you can't jump on people coming in the door. Honey, I love you to death, but you're not going to just jump up on the couch and knock my hot coffee over. Honey, I love you to death, but you're not going to growl at another dog or bark at another dog. It's just more of teaching the dogs what they're not allowed to do, because otherwise they can just do anything. We always have at events, and we had a couple of events this weekend, 3 events. People are sit for their dogs. But meanwhile, their dog wasn't pulling, it wasn't jumping, wasn't barking, it was standing. But the person wanted the dog to sit. We don't care if the dog is standing as long as the dog isn't dragging us, jumping at other dogs, barking at other dogs. And hopefully all of you will start to see that. It's not about focusing on the dog, making him sit, making him lie down. If he has a behavioral issue, let's just fix that. Most people make their dog sit at the front door because they don't want him to run out the door or jump on people. Well, why don't we just teach him he's not allowed to run out the door or jump on people? Does that make sense to everybody? All right. We're going to go to another question, and we will take Donna from New Mexico. Donna, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Janice. Okay, I have 2 dogs, a standard poodle and a chocolate lab. The lab's been through the obedience. She's very well trained. I'm working on the poodle, but when people come over, it is a nightmare with both of them. They can't come in the door without being greeted by the dogs. That one I haven't been able to fix. Any suggestion?
All right. Here's the thing. That's a perfect example. Your dog sits, lies down. You've probably graduated with honors. Summa cum laude from the obedience school. But that when the dog gets excited, excitement leads to dominant behavior. Dominance leads to aggression. So excitement leads to dominance. Dominance leads to aggression. Now, a lot of times when we do a family like yours with 2 dogs, one dog will jump or the other will jump, and then they eventually get at each other to see who's going to be the more dominant. So that can actually create more problems than it can solve, having the 2 dogs there and not having any rules. Well, guess what? Lab isn't allowed to jump. Poodle's not allowed to jump. I don't care if they're sitting, they're lying down, they're smoking a cigar in the bathroom. Whatever they want to do, it's fine, but they're just not allowed to jump. They're not allowed to run out the door. And again, we talked about this last week. I don't know if you were listening. We give them a poke in the neck. Here, Mark, I'm getting poked. Poke in the neck with a shh sound. And then look away. Enjoy your guests. Tell your guests to look at the blue dot or look at the cobwebs on your ceiling or the new chandelier you didn't get and say, wow, gee, I thought you had that same chandelier last week. But by that time, the dogs get to smell. All your dogs want to do is smell the new people coming in. When they jump, they're being dominant. Hey, what do you mean coming into my house?